Today I'm going to give an overview of MAPS testing and specifically of the reports that you can print that you might find useful. So I got all of this information from Miss Romo, so I want to give credit where credit is due. So she shared all of the resources, and this is just going to be a preliminary training. You will receive a whole lot more information in our PLC trainings, but this will at least get you started in the right direction. So just a few important things to note. The MAPS testing measures how much students have grown. It's all about growth. It is not based on grade level or standards. It is skill-based, and it's used to determine where students are in skill development using adaptive measures, meaning that the test adapts to the student's ability level during the test. So if they are scoring lower, then it will bump the ease of the question down, and likewise it will go up if they are doing well. There is not an expected level of achievement, rather it allows teachers to see what skills the students have acquired and what skills the students still need support in acquiring, and maps growth norms generalize growth based on students like them, so they normalize, not calculated how we traditionally think due to state testing. So the RIT is the item difficulty scale. It can go as low as 100, and theoretically it can go all the way up to 350. Every item, has a RIT level assigned, and RIT scores are not expectations. They are just a measure of where students are, not what we expect them to be. 60% of the test is multiple choice, and the test also includes a grab a tool, a short answer, and click and pop. So ultimately, we want to identify the zone of proximal development, which is the student's sweet spot. By doing that, we can actually accelerate their learning. So if we're meeting students where they are at using their RIT scores, we're going to take them leaps and bounds farther than we would if we just taught content without considering that data. So where to start? There are many reports, and it's best to start with one or two and to work your way around. Don't drown yourself in data. So with data, it's only useful if you can put it to use. So if you spend a whole lot of time looking at it and you are like me and nerd out a little bit about it, but then you don't go and apply it to your classroom, then it's not effective at all. I already warned you about there's a lot of reports. I do want to specifically say, and I'll come back to this later, but be careful about sending home the parent report. If parents have seen this report from kindergarten up through high school, like parents in some districts have, then they're very familiar with the RIT score. However, this is our first year for our campus and for our district to implement the MAP testing, so parents are not familiar with it. So if you send home a report with RIT scores, they're just going to be very confused. What are RIT scores? What do they mean? What can you see over time? Until we as a campus and as a district have had time to really educate parents on what that means, it's probably best not to send home an elusive report. So I'm going to walk you through how to access several of the most important reports. There are tons of reports, and Ms. Romo highlighted a few key ones in the notes that she took at her presentation, at her professional development session, and that's what I have done for you in this video. Well, the first one is the class profile report. You can, and I will be sharing this presentation with all of you, so click there to learn more details about the class profile report, but I want to walk you through how to access it. So over here, you'll see that you click on the math growth reports. And you click the class profile. It gives you kind of a summary of your class. this summary says most are below the mean, so most are below 50th percentile. There's also that median percentile, which for this class is 13. If you want a printable report on one page, you click the print PDF. And I want to point out that the median as well as the mean can help you kind of understand each of your different classes, and it gives you a synopsis of how you might have to change your differentiation strategies between your classes. So for example, this mean is most are below the 50th percentile and the median is 13, compared to the mean is still the same, but this median is 40 and this median is 51, and still it's at most are at or above the mean. So notice we went from most are below the mean, to most are at or below or above the mean. So this class is going to have perhaps different instruction, different methods of delivery, possibly even different assignments than some of the students in the other classes. As part of the class profile report, if you click the top of each of these headers, it will sort your data into least to greatest, greatest to least, however you want it. It does give the students' names, but I have covered those for confidentiality purposes. And then, of course, the RIT and the quantile scores. Under the same class profile report, there's also a test details section. This will tell you how many have completed the test and how many completed, but a retest is recommended. So I find that particularly interesting and helpful because the system will flag students who appear to not be taking the test seriously, and then it will help you know who needs to potentially redo it. So continuing on with the class profile report, this screen looks very similar to the other one, except for it gets a standard error of measure. And that little I, if you click on the I, will tell you more about the standard error of measure. Basically, if the students were to retake the test soon after, whenever they took the beginning of the test, the student's score, that's giving you the deviation in the score. So the student's score would be within that range most of the time. It also gives you the test duration time and how long it took each kiddo to take the test. So whenever you want to view a report, you can get to it through two different ways. You can click on the reports queue, or you can click on the three lines, and the three lines will bring you up to where it says reports queue. This is my personal favorite method because it doesn't require me to go all the way back to the beginning. So we looked at the class profile report. There is also a student profile report. So same thing, you access it through the map growth reports. There it is, the student profile. You enter all of your information and then it generates a student profile. I am the math teacher, so the math is the biggest one that I see, and take a look at these buttons because we're about to go over what those specific buttons do. So here's another look at what the student profile report breaks down. It includes any growth goals that the student has. It includes the instructional areas and the growth and achievement measures. It also includes the projections. We're going to talk a lot more about STAR projections soon, but this student is currently on the projection to not pass the STAR according to her RIT score. And again, this shows that she is projected to not pass unless there is serious intervention to help her. So going back to those two buttons I pointed out earlier, if you click the little person button, instead of having to go back to the beginning screen every single time, it will allow you to toggle down and all of your classes and all of your students' names will show up here, and you can click on the student's name there. It also has a print and share button, and when you click there, that goes back to that family report, but remember, I wouldn't send it out unless you've had adequate time to describe to parents what that means. But the batch PDF is specifically useful because you can go and select your subjects, you can select your comparison data, your pages, how you want it to look. And then this one is my favorite feature. You can choose to print all students in this class, and if you click the second box, it will print all of the students from the class, but it will also give you page breaks so that you can actually send the report home once parents are more informed about it. So this is the same thing, it just shows the PDF file of what I just showed you. The first one was just what my computer shows. This is what the student would actually get to take home. And of course, you could use this page to set goals with your students. Achievement, status, and growth. It says, pull this report ASAP. That is from Mrs. Romo herself, because this report has a lot of great information. So you go through the map growth testing area, just like normal. You'll notice there are 2 achievement, status, and growth ones. You're going to want the second one because it's the fall semester. Once your students have taken the next test, then it would be more appropriate to use this one, the achievement, status, and growth summary with quadrant chart. So once you click on that, it's going to look like this. You just enter all of your information in. And then once you've entered the information, it sometimes takes a few minutes, but it will take you to your reports queue where you can download the report. Here is an example of what it looks like when it is downloaded. So it gives you the RIT score range for each child. It also gives your achievement percentile range. And additionally, it gives you that projected growth. So that is the very important number. If the system projects that you're going to grow 6 points and you only grow 4, then your RIT score is going to be significantly impacted. Moving on to the class breakdown, I really like this one as well. You access it the same way as the others. It says class breakdown by RIT, instructional area, or projected proficiency. So if you're going to view it by RIT, instructional area, or the projected proficiency, then you're going to click which area you want to view it from there. So the projected proficiency, as you can see, I did cover up my name so that you could not see them. But essentially it groups the kiddos into did not meet, approaches, meets, and masters. And the kids who are in the did not meet, the kids that are in the did not meet box will require serious intervention in order to beat that projected growth. I like this one too. It's just the RIT scores broken down by content area. But my favorite one is that class breakdown by instructional area. And it tells me, okay, well, what was their score? And it also tells me what instructional area it is. So this would be a great way if you find an area where all of the GT kiddos are struggling, then you could use this to help them accomplish their goals. And it is important to note that when there are blanks in the reports, students have not yet seen the instructional areas. The STAR performance indicators. So this is a report. You can click on the link and it gives you all kinds of great information to read. But what you need to know is that reading is on page 16, math is on page 17, and science is on page 18. It looks like this. It looks slightly overwhelming, but all it is, so for example, I teach 4th grade. If the student's RIT score was between 100 and 190, then I should expect the percentile to be 1 to 36. That's just for the did not meets. Same with approaches, meets, and masters. Math STAR performance predictors, same thing as the reading, just in a start in a math chart. And then here's the science chart. So some resources for you to help further understand that. There's a Padlet, and when you click on the Padlet, it gives you, oh my goodness, so many different activities for you to explore. You have reference charts. There is a teacher toolkit, which highlights the student experience in several videos. There's a teacher toolkit about understanding the map. It's about 3 minutes long, and then there's a map growth normative data tables document that you can click on. So all of these are links that you can click on and get more info. So if you want even more, you can click here to go to the MAPS website, and you'll notice that at the very bottom there's some practice tests for students, and there are also some video tutorials down here. So for Kagan seat arrangements, this will specifically be useful for STEMscopes as well. But I want to talk about it because I use this in almost all of my classroom activities. I have created a numbered seats document. If it'll load, there it is, that you can print on cardstock, and you can use that sticky paper to seal it to your desk. I can show you what I mean by sticky paper if you need a reference. So the Kagan cooperative learning strategies recommend that you sort students into high, low, medium high, and medium low. And then you place one student from each category into each table group. This is a way to provide heterogeneous grouping that allows for better academic discourse. So if I have a high student and a low student in the same group, they're all going to be hearing the language that the high student uses. But I also want to talk about homogeneous groups, because heterogeneous groups have a time and a place, and so do homogeneous groups. So for those groups, it is super helpful for inclusion teachers, because the inclusion teacher goes to one table group and provides as much support as possible. It also reduces the risk of students feeling like the only one who doesn't get it. If there's only 4 of you working on it, then of course they're not going to feel like the only one working on it. And provide more discrete differentiation. So this week I had some higher kiddos solving some extra credit assignments, and it included the thousandths place, but in 4th grade we only go to the hundredths. Well, once they finished, I let them go on and do some more activities, but all the other kids around them really wanted to do it too, but they weren't ready for it. So if you group them all together, you're able to more discreetly meet their needs for both high and low students. I believe that's it for now. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me or Miss Romo, and we are happy to get back with you. That's it.